Hey guys, so this might be a surprise, but the idea of pilots ejecting out of planes appeared with the birth of aviation alone with the Wright Brothers' first plane designs. Also, this simple design worked back then, but using it on a biplane was almost impossible. So pilots had to use their own strength to get out of planes. However, now special ejection chairs are used that have saved the lives of thousands of pilots since they have been produced. Now, in today's video, you'll see the most advanced ejection chair in the world, learn how it all began, and why ejecting is still fatally dangerous today. This chair is a pilot or crew member's last chance to save their life before an accident occurs. Meanwhile, these ideas aren't just in planes today. Most military and sport vehicles have them to increase the chance of the pilot or driver's survival in an accident or upon landing. Ejection chairs help the pilots survive and protect them from a range of altitudes and velocities. Now, until the 1940s, planes didn't fly very fast and didn't cause pilots serious problems. The pilot would kick out the canopy, unbuckle their harness, crawl over the edge of the cockpit, and jump or step over the cockpit and stand on the wing, and then jump between it and the tail section. Easy peasy, right? But by the middle of World War II, combat planes broke an invisible barrier. While flying faster than 310 miles per hour, pilots would be pressed down to their planes by the air hard, and that was the time when they needed to push off and not hit the wing or fin. The pilot might be injured, but the plane would crash and burn. The simplest solution was to unbuckle the harness and aim the plane into a nosedive, and the load would throw the pilot from the cockpit. Now, this didn't always work, and only really worked at slow speeds. Now, the inventor of a cockpit combined with ejection was Anastase Dragomir, a Romanian inventor in aviation. His invention passed tests in August 1929 using an airframe from Avian's Farman at the Paris-Orly airport. French newspapers wrote that the tests were passed successfully. The first special ejection seats were made in Germany. In 1939, the experimental Heinkel 176 jet plane was outfitted with a detachable nose cone, and the ejection seats went into serial production. They were put on the jet HE-280s and propeller HE-219s, and the HE-219 Night Fighter became the world's first serial combat plane with an ejection seat. In January 1943, German pilot Helmut Schenk did the world's first real ejection when his fighter's aerodynamic surfaces iced up and the plane was uncontrollable. The chair exited the plane on rails and used a balloon filled with air. By the end of World War II, German pilots had recorded over 60 real ejections. So ejection chairs then were considered first generation, but still, ejection chairs. They could only do one thing: throw a pilot from the cockpit. This was done using pneumatics, although they tried pyrotechnical and mechanical methods too. So after flying out of the plane, the pilot needed to unbuckle their seatbelt, push away from the chair, and open their parachute. That's pretty extreme. Fast forward to the second generation of ejection seats. These appeared after the war in the 1950s. The ejection process becomes partially automated here. All you had to do was pull a lever for the mechanism to throw the chair and pilot from the plane and launch a series of parachutes, stabilizing, braking, and main. Using this simple method provided a block for time and altitude. At high altitudes, the parachute wouldn't open immediately, but there was one ejector that was limited by cockpit size and the pilot's physiological capabilities. And it couldn't throw the pilot the necessary height. The G-forces when ejecting often caused explosive breaks to the spine. Bone fragments would damage the spinal cord, and pilots could become paralyzed. To alleviate the stress when ejecting upwards, a two-stage ejector was developed in the 1960s. Now, the first stage was a comparatively small blast that launched the chair upwards, and then a hard-fueled jet engine activated that would accelerate the ejected chair an additional 20 feet up at an acceleration that was tolerable by the human body. This made it safe to launch-eject pilots if the plane was crashing into the ground or during a run on the runway. Ejection chairs with these engines are part of the third generation. They were equipped with more modern mechanisms that weren't necessarily electric. For example, the first models of this generation had an automatic parachute combined with the plane using two air tubes that tuned the flight's altitude and speed. Technology has taken huge steps forward since then. However, all modern serial ejection seats are considered third generation, like the American Stencil S4s, the McDonnell Douglas Aces II, and the English Martin Baker Mk14. Usually, after ejection, these modern seats came apart on their own and the pilot lands with the parachute. The canopy can launch apart intact using small charges along its edge. Other systems have a built-in explosive cord that break the canopy and the pieces are blown away by the air current. Finally, you can eject through the glass. The Martin Baker seat has two hooks that break the glass when the seat ejects. Now, even though ejection seats have saved the lives of thousands of pilots, they still aren't perfected. Work to improve the design of ejection seats continues. Now, according to statistics, the survival rate when ejecting is 89% overall, but only 51% under altitudes of 500 feet. Specialists say that 25 to 30% of all pilots who use ejection seats now receive spinal damage because of the ejection mechanism. During the ejection, the pilot can feel up to 14 Gs, which, as a rule, can compress the spinal column and negatively affect the curvature of the spine, especially the upper portion. However, these injuries don't stop people from going back to fly. Aerospace Systems in Colorado Springs is developing smart jet engines for its new Aces 5 ejecting seat. The Aces family of ejecting seats has saved over 694 lives today. The company develops, launches, and modernizes seats for the Lockheed Martin F-22 and Boeing F-15 fighters and the B-2 Spirit bomber. So now I'd like to focus on another thing that seems kind of inconspicuous. The Aces 5 is balanced with the pilot's weight in mind and can move that weight in a different way. Instead of one powerful push launching the pilot upwards, the system gradually pushes the chair up and up, so the pilot flies smoothly, instead of being shot upward, like with most modern ejection seats. The new seat will calculate and vary the drag itself. Another unpleasant effect of the ejection is the pilot hits their head on the seat right when the seat launches and hits the airstream. There are also possible ways the pilot's head can be jostled. The company developed their own system to solve this problem. During ejection, a special platform for the head gently but forcefully pushes the head forward, forcing the chin into the chest. Then the oncoming airflow pushes the head back towards the cushion, but the system won't let the head strike it. Simultaneously, side cushions prevent the head from rotating. An additional danger affects the extremities. The oncoming air current can hyperextend them, causing damage. The legs in the seat are protected normally without anything special by using secure loops. But a special net was developed to protect the arms that limits their backward movement. Theoretically, this system is more reliable than the classic under-elbow one, especially when the second crew member is ejecting. Their arms during ejection can be in any position, and there's no guarantee that the limiters around the elbow can catch them. If, for example, ejection occurs at an altitude over 6 miles, the surrounding air is too thin for the main parachute to open. This can tangle the parachute. So, the seat has pressure sensors that give the stabilizing parachute a command to release the main parachute only at an altitude under 2 miles. But what about military pilots flying at high altitudes? For example, the air above 7 miles is too thin to breathe, and the temperature is around -67 degrees Fahrenheit. These problems were solved by Stanley Aviation Company from Denver, Colorado, back in the 1950s. Stanley and Conver developed a completely closed pod for the crew that folds similar to an eggshell to replace the typical ejection seat. These pods were first installed in the US on the supersonic B-58A Hustler bomber. The pods significantly increased safety and comfort for the crew. During a normal flight, the pod is left open, providing the crew easy access. Waist, chest, and shoulder straps are built into the pod to secure the crew during flight. It was fairly spacious, except for fairly large men. The capsules were automated for survival and had equipment that activated for both land and water to support life and let the crew members exist in their capsules. The pods were equipped with flotation devices and a snorkel to let air into the pod and to prevent water from getting in. The pilot's pod had a window that was fairly large, so they could see a large part of the front panel of instruments. The ejection happens upon anything that threatens the pilot's life. Pressing the launch button to eject leads to the canopy separating away and the pod leaving the cockpit. As soon as the pod leaves the plane, the braking stabilizing parachute keeps the system in the right position, and then the main parachute opens automatically at the right altitude. Well, that's all for today. Leave a like and comment, let me know what you learned in this video, and would you be willing to fly in a plane, especially after how dangerous the ejection is? And we'll see you again next time.